Okay, so good morning, everybody, and welcome to our next PA Forum series. We're delighted in January to be joined by a highly motivational session. For those of you that might not have seen Alison Edgar MBE before, I was recommended to her personally by some contacts within industry. And we had a chat on the phone, and she absolutely brightened up my day. She's got a fantastic backstory, and I just knew that putting her in front of our members today would be just the oomph they need to be unstoppable this January. So without further ado, please let me introduce Alison Edgar MBE.
Oh, thank you so much. It's like usually we do this in a big room, don't we? And I get the applause, but like, you know what? If you can't hear the applause, you just make your own. I think a special welcome to Karen's son. I don't know if anybody saw the start there, like Karen's little boy's in the room. So a big wave to Karen's little boy. And, you know, it's really interesting. Before we were talking on air, Dan said, "Oh, Alison, I really like your branding. You've done a really good job with the branding." And I went, "No, if I was doing the branding, it would look like something from the Blue Peter, here's one I made earlier section." I'll explain a little bit about the story, but one of the things is I'm actually dyslexic, so I really struggle when it comes to reading and writing. And the person that really runs my life is Rebecca, who runs the slides as well. So you know, the roles that you ladies, and again, I don't think there's any gents in the room, well, Dan obviously, but I think sometimes when you're in your role, you forget how important it is, because I know that Rebecca, who works for me, sometimes underplays her role in my life. My business wouldn't be the success it is, or my life wouldn't be the success it is without her. So a big round of applause to you girls and guys. Woo! So I am going to share the slides, not because I'm going to bombard you with lots of information, but again, as a dyslexic, it really helps me that I can feed through the story and it makes sense. So we are going to be talking about Unstoppable, the art of getting what you want. And I'm hoping now you can all see the slides. So that is amazing. Now, one of the things, again, I'm sure you've been on webinars and these, you know, conferences online, and sometimes it's just people talking at you. So what we are going to do in this session, if you have one of these things called mobile phones, the reason I've got a timer on there is so that I know how we're running to time. But we're going to be looking, doing an interactive exercise. So if you've got access to your phone where you can open another browser, or if you can open another browser when you're listening to me, then we're going to make the session really interactive. We will also be using the chat function. So because I can't like hear you or see you, that's how I know that you're engaging with me. So I think it says chat disabled. I'm sure that Dan can enable that chat for us. So let's get a crack on then. Now, and just to make sure that chat's working, again, who can tell me who that is on the slide? It's not a very flattering photo, is it? But can you tell me who that is? Beckham. It is. Deb's right in there. Like this is where you can see, I'm just getting right in, David Beckham. So I think if you look at life and sport and business and all these things, there's one common denominator that I see, and I think it's around goals. And it's quite interesting when we talk about goals in January, because it's the start of the new year resolution times. Yeah, Tracy, it's not a very flattering photo. Again, that's why we did that one, so that it wasn't too obvious. So again, I think goals are really important to getting what you want, and you're all in the room because it's January, you want to be motivated, and we are going to be looking at how you can look at goals in your life, in your business, and how that can affect how you can get what you want. It looks like he's holding his breath. It's not a great photo, I agree. So, I mean, what is the importance of goals? And it's really interesting. And I can remember this time last year, I was like, it sounds like I've got too much time on my hands, but at lunchtime I was watching Loose Women, right? And you had Syra Khan in one side of the table. This is obviously pre-lockdown. And you had Stacey Solomon in another side of the table. And I think, again, both very successful women in their own right. and you had Syra Khan saying like she runs her life like it's a business, and it's like, oh, bing bang bong, and then you've got Stacey, who's the kind of like, oh, I'm just going with the flow, and oh, I don't set goals. And I think actually a lot of it is the balance. I think, you know, you've got to know what you want to be able to make a plan to get it. And I think the reason that goals are important, you know, it gives you direction, focus, purpose, prioritization of change. And we're going to talk about change today and how that affects you getting what you want. But hopefully we're going to be looking at, you know, and again, I think it's interesting because I've just finished writing the new book. In fact, boom, the manuscript went to the publisher yesterday at 3 o'clock with all the attachments. I couldn't have done it without Rebecca, another thing. But during that period, you know, we were looking at the content that was in there. And I'm more of an audio listener because of the dyslexia struggles. But a lot of the stuff that people put in their books and regurgitate is the same stuff over and over again. One of the things that I want you to take away is I've got a new twist. It's much more contemporary on a lot of old methodologies, but you will really, if you use them, be able to make changes straight away to getting what you want. So I did mention to you that we are going to do something interactive. So this is what I need you to do. I want you to have a think about, you know, what you want, you know, and you know, the words that come to your head, you know, just, I'm not going to give you too much information, but I just want you to have a think. And if you go on to your browser and put in menti.com, that's menti.com, and it should give you a little, I think it's a little purple page, and it will ask you for the code. So the code is 4730 55 4. I'll pop it in the chat, but as I change to the screen, it will actually come up on the next slide as well, but I put it in there. Okay, so I'm going to click on this, and this will start to take us through. Now, as you type your words in, it should now start to create a word cloud. So what do you want? A job. Great. I mean, you know, I think this time of the year is tricky, but I promise you there'll be things today that will help you get a job. I'm not guaranteeing you're going to get one, but it will help you make the plan. Accomplishment, job satisfaction, confidence. Look at you, look, confidence. Now, the reason that confidence has come up larger than the other words is that means more than one person has typed it in. Recognition, empowerment, reassurance, happiness, a new career, more responsibility, a pay rise. Oh yeah, like literally we've covered all that in the new book. Reassurance. Confidence is one of the biggest things that's coming up there because you can see it again in bolder. Balance. I don't know who wrote balance, but I'm telling you what, I'm going to be teaching you today the banks of balance so that it really does give you that work-life balance, because more than one person has put that. So excellent. I think you've all pretty much put an answer in there. Dan, this comes back to you, the results of this poll. Again, it's anonymous, so we don't know, but this is the sort of goals and the outcomes from the people that have attended the session. So I am now going to flick back to this slide. So hopefully now you can go back to here. So I've got a confession to make. I've kind of honey trapped you a little bit because the words that you used there, again, I didn't give you much information. It's the words that come up at the top of your head. So happiness, a pay rise, a new job, a balance. But the reason that most people don't get those things, they just don't break them down. Now, a lot of you will have heard of SMART before. And, you know, that's not a new concept. But I just really think it is incredibly important to break that down. So what does make you happy? What job do you want? And again, using the specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based, I think that can really help you to focus. So when you think about David Beckham, you know, and go back to his goals, yeah, he will want to score a goal, but he'll be like, right, okay, I want to score a goal within the first 4 minutes of the match against Chelsea on the 26th of December, whatever it is. And again, a lot of this, you know, I've brought up here about the vision board. So the stuff that I talk about today isn't stuff that I talk about in theory. This is my actual vision board for 2020. The 2021 is, I'm still playing around because one of the stuff on there was finish the book, and I've done that. So I'm rejigging them. And how you do your vision board is up to you. You might have it on your, I was going to say your blackboard. You might have it on your blackboard, darling, or you might have it on your whiteboard, or you might have it on your PC screensaver. We do ours on a Canva, and I've got it on mine. I look at it every single day. So if you have a little look, I mean, it's quite interesting. This was, and again, everything on here is really specific and it's measurable. So hopefully you will laugh and not cry. But I did plan to go to Croatia in May 2020. Well, we know that one didn't happen. But I think it's actually quite important, because sometimes our goals are determined by other people or other things. And I think it's those other people and other things that can sometimes put us off from achieving our goals. So I'm going to be covering that as well. And the other thing is, we, you know, sometimes with our goals, we don't really have a strong enough reason. And I'm going to be covering that shortly. But like I put on there that I wanted to start my psychology degree in September 2020. And when I looked at it and I dug into why I wanted to start it, I don't really need a degree because I'm not taking it further on. I think that was just my underconfidence, because I left school at 16 with no qualifications because of the dyslexia. So, you know, I think when you start those goals, so the person that said a pay rise, you know, I would like a blah, blah, blah pay rise by this date, and this is why. So again, that really does help you with your vision boards. I'm hoping that all makes sense. Actually, where is my little chat going? Let's have a wee bit of a chat in there so I know you're all with me. If that makes sense, if you can bring it up in the chat. For some reason I can't find the chat. Why is the chat not there? Dan, I'm struggling to bring the chat up. But if there's anything in the chat, if you could join in. You're on mute.
I've typed in the chat, lovely. Can you see the chat coming up now?
No, let me have a wee look and I'll see.
So I've just put in here, I just put personally that everyone's just put it's made sense. Yes, I personally love a vision board. I've asked what would people include in theirs, be interested to see what people say from that perspective. I think it's a great idea to have it as well on your desktop or close to where you're working, because looking at that every day must be really inspiring and motivating as well.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, it's quite interesting. So you'll see down there, I can't see the chat, so I'm going to get you to run that for me, Dan, if that's okay.
Yeah,
down there, so you'll see on this one here at the bottom right, I wanted to be in the Loose Women audience. Well, I smashed that goal. So next year, I want to be on the panel. That's what I want. You got to push your goals even further. So if we have a little look, and I think this bit is really prevalent at the moment. Some things are out of your control. I think that's the story of 2020 and the start of 2021. And I want to tell you a little story here. The photo on the left-hand side, up until 2 years ago, I did no exercise at all. The most exercise was actually walking from the sofa to the fridge to get wine and then back again. And my husband had lost 8 stone in weight, so he had lost a considerable amount. And I was kind of thinking, no, maybe I should do that. But it wasn't really on my goal board. And I've got arthritis. I struggle quite badly with arthritis, and I've got it in my knees. And I decided that one of the things the doctor said, if you lose a bit of weight, become a bit healthier, it will help the pain in your legs. So that's a definite goal. So that moved into the goal. And as a result of that, I did couch to 5K, couch to 10K, couch to half marathon. So literally just from putting the goal in it and focusing really hard, I put time frames against everything. But once I did that, when we came out of the middle part of lockdown, I decided that I wanted to climb a mountain. I had never climbed a mountain before. I sound like Maria, climb every mountain. So I decided I was going to climb Mount Snowdon. And for those of you who can see, I live in Wiltshire. And we decided, I went up with Kaya, who works with me, we decided we would get the train up. So we had to go Bristol to New Street, up somewhere Telford, and then across west over towards Snowdon, whatever that is that Bangor or somewhere away over there, 6 trains and some, I don't know, X amount of hours. And we got there and the weather was beautiful. And we thought, that's brilliant, we'll get up tomorrow and climb that mountain. Well, we woke up the next day and it was like this. So I didn't get to climb the mountain. And I think the point of that is sometimes the weather or other things we focus on affect our goals. And, you know, to make it really positive, I did go back in October and I smashed it. I should have a picture there of me at the top of the mountain doing this. But again, you know, it's a bit like the Robert the Bruce, if at first you don't succeed, try again. So I still kept it as a goal, but I changed the time frame. So sometimes, again, to me, what the lockdowns have done and what the pandemic has done, it shouldn't affect your goals. It just means that it'll take you a bit longer to do them. But how do you get them? So this is, I think this is so important, because if that had happened and I'd gone all the way up there and I hadn't climbed the mountain, it would have been easy to be in a fixed mindset. Oh, you know what? I'm climbing a mountain. I'm not good at climbing mountains. I've never done that before. Maybe I shouldn't bother. Oh, I tried. You know what? That's just not worth it. Or, you know, I'm not going to try that again. A mountain, maybe I'm not cut out for climbing mountains. I'll just stick to what I know. That's walking to the fridge for the wine and back. And feedback, you know, I think this is, again, from a work perspective, sometimes when we're in work, or especially if we, you know, I know some of you run your own businesses and some of you are working like with the exec team, that sometimes you get feedback and you think, oh, that's it, they don't like me. Oh, they don't think I'm doing a good job. Oh no. But feedback is brilliant. And the stuff that I'm talking about here is based on Carol Dweck's studies. So she's a professor at Stanford, and she talks about mindset in children. And for those of you who have got children, I know that Karen has a little boy because I've seen him on screen, but it's really getting people to change to a growth mindset. And I believe that a growth mindset is key to learning and getting what you want, because with a fixed mindset, if you try it and you don't get it, and, you know, coming back to the person that was looking for a job, it's quite easy to get, you know, your mind, oh, I don't know why I bothered going for that job, or there's no jobs, or there's nothing, you know. To really achieve at the moment, the key foundation, I think, is a growth mindset. And it's, I can learn to do anything I want. So, you know, if you look, it was interesting, again, Dan and I were talking about Canva when we started. And, you know, I'm not the queen of Canva because Rebecca does it much better than me, but I can knock something up, you know. But it would be easy for me to think, oh, that's a new thing, I'm not going to learn that. Digital skills, I'm not going to learn those. But actually, it's great. I mean, the way that I look at things is, it's great to screw up, because you don't care if you screwed up or not. It's what have I learned from it and what can I do better the next time. And I do think that mindset is the core of things. One of the things that I was due to do during lockdown was go to Brussels to speak to the European Commission, so 600 to the team at the European Commission, on mindset and how, and again, I think it was really quite interesting, and this will probably resonate with a lot of you who are employed PAs, that a lot of it comes from the culture of your company. And one of the things with the European Commission, we talk about fertile soil for change and doing things differently. And if you look at the world at the moment, I think what's been really interesting is they've had to change really quickly, working from home. Like some of you ladies or gents in the room have been working from home for years, but now this has been thrust onto organisations. And I think that's affected how they think, which does lead me into this. And sometimes people really don't like change, they fear change. So that moving of the mindset is actually it's a proper thing. Like when I first brought this slide up a while ago, I couldn't pronounce it, but I'm hoping I get it right. It's called metathesiophobia. So that's your word for today. So if you're doing any social media, then you can be using, I've learned a new word, metathesiophobia. Oh, by the way, I found the chat, Dan. So that I'm hoping that gives you a bit of an idea of why some people feel like that. But it does come back to, again, I'm a big believer in psychology. It comes back to the caveman days. So for those of you who have ever read Steve Peters, The Chimp Paradox, he talks a lot about the brain, I think, again, in a non-academic way and in an everyday language. And what it does is a lot of the fear of change comes back from our brain trying to protect us. So if you look at organisations who wouldn't have let their teams work from home before, that would mean a lot of like the fear that they would be skiving off, or they wouldn't be doing it properly, or it was too hard to control. And that's why if you have a look at it, the change, so it's the fight, flight or freeze situation that people get into. And I think a lot of people now they either have to fight or they have to flight. You know, if you're in a job or in a role and it's not working out for you, or you're really struggling, you have to start to make the opportunities. So I can see the chat now. So Joe says, it's a great book, highly recommended. I would definitely recommend that. But hopefully you can see, and again, even a lot of the time as VAs or PAs, you are the change makers. Because if you are working with an exec team and they're maybe not digitally proficient, maybe they've always done it the way that they've done it, and they just can't do that anymore, that really getting them to think with a growth mindset will help that change. And the same with, you know, when it comes to your goals and smashing like what you want, becoming unstoppable, then you might have to do things differently and really try and don't be afraid. It's easy for me to say don't be afraid, but I think recognize why you're afraid helps you to overcome the fear. So I'm hoping that makes sense. If there's any questions, actually Rachel's got one here. Being a VA is amazing. I love working like this and with occasional sessions in the office. You know, I've always worked from home because my background was sales. I used to work for BT and I worked for Yale. But when I worked for Yale for 15 years, I always had a home office. So moving into this environment was easy, but I know for a lot of people it's not been easy. But again, I think working on what the fear is and the mindset behind it really helps to overcome the fear. So I'm hoping that will make sense. So, right, now one of the things, this is actually quite funny. It's like I've prepped Dan for everything. We obviously had a wee bit of an overview of the sessions, but we didn't go into too much detail. So he physically showed me his list that he's got on there. And I think, again, one of the things that as a VA or a PA, being organised is massive. Now, I think it was Deb, I'm not sure if she's in the room, but she like put diary magician. I've linked in to most of you. I think I've sent a LinkedIn request and I love that. But sometimes, again, yes, it's Deb. So sometimes it's getting other people affect you getting what you want, and other people and how they think affects you. So one of the things sort of based again on the Eisenhower quadrant of time management. So, you know, people talk about important, urgent, not important, not urgent. Oh, I don't know about you, but I don't get that. I think it's a huggledy-guggledy-muggledy. I kind of work it out. So what I do with my team and what I train in organisation is Alison Edgar's big balls. So if you look at urgent, important, then that's a basketball. So for me, yesterday's basketball was the manuscript had to be to the publisher by 5 o'clock. That was it. There was no negotiation on that. But then if you look at, if that was a month ago, that was a tennis ball. And then if you look at the summer when we were kind of heavy in the writing, it was a ping pong ball. And I think that's where, again, if, for example, I needed artwork from a printer and the printer was treating my basketball, so my 5 p.m. deadline, as a ping pong ball, that's when the communication breaks down. When you have to communicate with someone else, if you look at basketballs, tennis balls, and ping pong balls. And also coming back to Dan's massive to-do list, it's human nature. We all do the things that we love to do first. So if you love to phone your friends first, or if you love to create social media first, or you love to do those things first, that's what you do. But then what happens is, like, some of the tasks don't get done in the right order. And that's where if you get a basketball in the face, it's rather sore. Dan, do you want to show them your list? Look at Dan's list. So, and again, I would imagine, you know, coming back to the fact that it's your job to sort people's balls, that you're taking that from other people to rearrange their diaries. And what we find is, really, when we talk basketballs, tennis balls and ping pong balls, it really aids communication. You need a bigger pad, Dan, then it won't look so long. There you go, shrink. But can you see from that how the communication between the people that you work with, Dan says yes, 100%, you do need a bigger pad. And I think this, again, affects you getting what you want, because a lot of the time it is by creating different ways to do it. So coming back to different ways to do it, one of the things we use is Trello. Have you heard of Trello, Dan? So we use Trello, but rather than having a linear to-do list, then what we do is we'll put the basketballs, tennis balls and ping pong balls. So Narinder uses that. But what I do is, like with my team, if I've got a basketball, so say I need the slides for Dan, you know, I need the slides for today, then I'll pop that in as a basketball, so that when the delegation takes place, we're delegating in the same ball size, and we just literally come in and go, right, what's our basketballs, tennis balls and ping pong balls? And I think it really helps you to, it helps you to buy back time. And I think time helps you to hit your goals, if that makes sense. So Claire has heard of it, but never tried it. The fourth, I would normally set up 4 boards, Claire: basketballs, tennis balls, ping pong balls, and then it's done. It's brilliant for project management, but it's brilliant for your to-do lists as well. And then lots of people are talking Alison Edgar's big balls. What's not to love about that? Now, somebody else put on the goals for the session was balance. Now, I think if you were looking for a word that I think for a lot of people describes 2020 and the start of 2021, the word would be overwhelm. And I was speaking to Emma Simpson yesterday. Emma Simpson is the BBC 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock news reporter. She's the Scottish lady with the short hair. And she's looking to do some highlighting of the fact that how much of a struggle it is for working women, working mothers, working women out there, and men, you know, but it tends to be a lot of the childcare has fallen back and the homeschooling has fallen back to women. And until we can change that, then that's what I'll talk about today. And how it's really difficult to balance it all. And I believe when it comes to your goals, so coming back to what you want in your life, I believe it is the banks of balance. When you run your life according to the banks of balance, then it gives you more of a sense of achievement. So what do I mean by that? So this is how I run my life. All I can teach you is what I do myself. So the bank of cash, and it feeds back into Maslow's hierarchy of needs, really. It's into Maslow. So the bank of cash enables you to have a job, bring money in, be fed, pay your mortgage, right? I mean, it's literally what keeps us going, surviving in a basic level. So for me, again, my clients include QuickBooks, the NHS, NatWest, WH Smith, Cooper Tires, Sky Bet. And what I do is I'll go in and I'll talk at their events, or I work with some of the Apprentice winners and the Dragon's Den winners in an entrepreneurial space. So without the bank of cash, you struggle to put food on the table. And I think that's why there's been a big ricochet, obviously, at the moment, because of the situation in so many industries, that the bank of cash has to be fed. You have to deposit in the bank of cash to do anything else. But this is where I believe the other banks are equally as important. So we've also got the bank of give back. So And it's interesting. So Rebecca and I had this conversation this morning because we do talk about it in the book. And there's no such thing as a selfless act. So even if you're feeding the bank of give back, so for me, like the picture in the middle, I sponsor and I work with Young Enterprise. So I genuinely really love giving my time to support Young Enterprise. I do Bite Night. I did Bite Night and Slept Out. I work with Small Business Saturday. I work with Enterprise Nation. I give back my time. And again, I believe that that helps your balance, because when you feel you've done something good, it helps your internal motivation. And that could be, you know, delivering someone's shopping. That could be taking, you know, picking somebody's kid up from school. That could be any number of things, because it's your bank, not my bank. I can't tell you what to put in it. But the other thing that Rebecca and I like sort of play around with, the bank of give back can also include giving back to yourself. That could be that hour in the bath. That could be that putting a face mask on. That could be that walk without your children. You need to feed that to get your balance. So again, if you look at how you are spending your time, lots of people are in overwhelm because they haven't balanced the deposit in this bank. The other bank is my favourite bank, darlings, the bank of faffing around. I don't know if that, actually, you girls will know probably more than me, or you guys, girls and guys, faffing around might be 2Fs or it might be a PF, who knows. But this is my, again, when I set my goals, I've got to have the balance in there of faffing around, because as a sort of high energy person, like, so when Dan asked me to do this event today, I'm like, oh, yes, please. Because when I come off of this, I'm hoping that I've inspired you, but it also energizes me. So again, you know, hanging around, climbing the mountain, that's the day that I didn't climb the mountain, the Couch to 5K, you know, I've done some BBC stuff with Steph McGovern, the amazing Sue Perkins, you know, the stuff at Downing Street. So none of that feeds the bank of cash. Like, hopefully it would grow my profile so that longer term it would feed the bank of cash, but it definitely feeds the bank of faffing around. So what I would do is look at where you're spending your time. And if you look, like, say, you know, say you're working with a frazzled exec in there, that they might be just feeding too much of the bank of cash, and they need to tone that down a little bit to feed the other banks just to get that balance. I know that somebody did say balance. So hopefully that makes sense. If that makes sense, we can have a little chat in the chat. Does anybody, that make sense? The deposit banks. 100%. Thank you, Dan. Anyone else? Oh, Deb. Oh, love the banks. Love the banks. Yes, it's a great way to look at it. Yeah. Love the bank of faffing around. Rachel, I love the bank of faffing around too. Oh, love a good faffing. It is brilliant, but you're faffing, and this is where people go, well, what would I put in my bank of faffing? Your bank, you deposit, you need to work out what does. And I think it's interesting, because I think this is where, as an extrovert or an introvert, what we want to deposit can be completely different. For me, reading a book doesn't hit the bank of faffing around. That would be the bank of give back, because I would want to learn something new to give it to someone else. Whereas for others, then reading a book might be their faffing around time. So I do hope that I need the bank. Wait a minute, I need the bank of homeschooling to finish. It's a big faff. Oh, but I think that's the bank of give back, Vicky. You know, I really believe that that is the bank of give back. And I think this is one of the biggest challenges for, you know, any ladies out there with children at the moment. But not the bank of procrastination, easy to pause. And Rachel, that's it. And this is where, if you look at the bank of procrastination, we want to eliminate that. And that's where I've never heard anyone, apart from me, talking about the banks, the banks of deposits, because this is original content and how I live my life. So I think a lot of the procrastination comes from fear. And the fear is that we get it wrong, and it pushes into the fixed mindset. Tracy says, I can't do the book thing, just have to faff as much as possible. Online shopping is dreamy. Yes, it is. But then it drains your bank of cash, Tracy. It drains it. Okay. And I think it's interesting, because overwhelm is a word that I think is a lot. And I think when it comes back to your goals, make sure you set realistic goals. So Couch to 5K, I mean, for me, that was a definite godsend to start my exercise program, exercise life, I'd say. I mean, I've lost 3.5 stone, and I've gone from nowhere to being able to run a half a marathon. So Couch to 5K. So if you were going to start it, you would say, well, I can do that by Easter. But the London Marathon, if you wanted to do that by Valentine's Day, then that wouldn't work. Oh, thank you, Tracy. Huge congratulations, she says. I mean, it's interesting because I've put the London Marathon in there, but that was another one of my catalysts to take action and stop procrastinating. Because I watched it on TV, not this year, the year before, and I thought, there they are out there in their chicken suits. How difficult can that be? If you can run a marathon in a chicken suit, I'm sure I could run it. And I got my card out. Literally, I was about to book myself to do the London Marathon. And I thought, 26.2 miles. I've never even run one. Maybe I should come up with a different plan. So can you see there, again, that wasn't realistic, but the Couch to 5K was. So for anybody that is looking to start exercise, it's free, and I could not recommend it highly enough. It's amazing. And I think what I discovered was doing that physical exercise really helped me with my mental strength to hit the goals. So I talked about this earlier, why do you want it? I can't, I can't stress highly enough on this as being one of the biggest things to help stop procrastination. Because, I tell a story in the new book about weight loss, and, I used to work for Yale and I was a top performer and I was due to go on the trip and, blah, blah, blah. And I lost weight, not in a particularly healthy way. And I lost it really rapidly. And as a result, I had to have radiotherapy to actually save my eyesight. And I don't tell you that for sympathy or anything. I tell you that because the only reason I wanted to lose weight at that time was for vanity. And I didn't do it, and I couldn't sustain it. Whereas now I'm doing it for health. I really want to see, I want to live a healthier life. I want to be able to spend longer with my children. I potentially eventually would like to have grandchildren. I'd like to achieve all my goals. And I think, coming back to things like Couch to 5K, or, asking for a pay rise or getting a new job, like, it's easy to say, well, I'm not going to do that today because it's raining. I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to ask for a pay rise. I am lucky to have a job. That's what I hear people saying at the moment. You're not lucky to have a job. If you feel that you're lucky to have a job, you won't perform with a growth mindset. They're lucky to have you in that job. And I think that's that confidence. A lot of people put confidence, that it's really important that you are confident in your ability. You're not lucky to have a job. You're skilled and you are rocking it. If you're in the unfortunate position that you are actually not in a role at the moment, well, I talk about in my first book, I talk about Glasgow's loss and Cape Town's gain, right? And I left to go traveling when I was 20. I turned 21 on the plane. I traveled on my own. I was going to live in Cape Town. And I got to the airport, and it was days that we actually had able to use an airport. My goodness, can you remember those days? But it was the days when you didn't have the swipey thing. You had the wee man that you handed your ticket to. And I arrived at the airport, left my mum and dad, my dog, my friends, and tearful. And the man said, "Where are you going, hen?" I hope you don't need subtitles. I know I'm very Scottish, but where are you going, hen? And I said, I'm going to live in Cape Town. And I'm leaving my dog, my family. And he said, "Well, hen, I'll tell you one thing. That is Glasgow's loss and Cape Town's gain. And that's the mindset that you need if you are between roles at the moment, or if you're thinking about setting up on your own. You've just got to remember that it's Glasgow's loss and Cape Town's gain, and be confident in yourself." So coming back to, I think I've got about 5 minutes left of the presentation, and then I'm going to open it up for Q&A. So what I wanted to sort of cover is, coming back to those goals. When you set your goals, I think it's really important that you determine, is it a me thing or is it a we thing? And not the Scottish we thing. But if you look at, for example, taking up running, well, that's a you thing, that's a me thing, because only you can control that. If it's getting a new job or a pay rise or a promotion, that's a we thing. So I think it really helps to segment your goals into a me thing or a we thing, so that you can determine who's involved. Because if it's a me thing, you've got to really work on your inner self. If somebody else is involved, this is a we thing. So I'm going to explain a wee bit more of that. Dan says, I love thinking about goals in more of a short term than overwhelm for the whole year. Definitely, you need to break them down into small. And that's why, again, Couch to 5K is amazing, because you only have to run for a minute. Week 1, I couldn't run. I had to keep repeating the week. And again, growth mindset, you just keep going. Right, so actually, I'm going to ask a question in here. So one of the ways for the we thing is how we adapt our behaviours to other people. So I'm going to talk a little bit around the DISC model. So if you have done DISC around behaviours, it's similar to Myers-Briggs or Belbin. Can you give me either a yes or a no in the chat, please? Yes or no? Have you done DISC? Dan has, yes. Yellow. Okay, there's a few yeses and a few no's. I've done Myers-Briggs. It's similar to Myers-Briggs as well. Kathy, no, no, no. So the no's are in the majority. So I believe I'm sure everybody that is watching today has met someone they don't get on particularly well with. And I promise you, from my heart of hearts, it comes from this cross. And this is where it feeds into the we thing. So again, that knowledge of the behaviours, I think, is imperative. So to put it all together, you've got some people are task focused, other people are relationship focused, some people are extrovert and others are introverts. So to sort of cement this together, what I'm going to do, I'm hypothetically going to take you all back to school. And I'm hypothetically going to give you an English test, which will last for 30 minutes. Right? It's a 30-minute hypothetical English test. And what will happen after 20 minutes, the red, the task-focused extrovert will put up their hand. Miss, I'm finished. Check me out. I'm a winner. But when they look at the other side of the paper, oh, I didn't realise there was another side there. So for the red, the task-focused extrovert, it's all about getting first finished, but not with any particular amount of detail. So again, I'd like you to think, people that maybe you live with, people that you work with, these are the ones that they want everything done at a pace, but not always with 100% accuracy. Then we move down to the yellows, and that's the relationship-focused extroverts. So going back to our class at school, after 10 minutes, the yellow will be like, oh, Dan, oh, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, I know Gail, oh, I love Gail, oh, yeah, yeah. Alison McCall, can you get back on with the test? The test, I forgot there was a test. We were busy just having a chat. So the yellows are energetic, but again, sometimes they forget to do the tasks. So even the people that you are working for, like your clients or your execs, by knowing this, this cross, it just gives you a deeper understanding as to why they behave the way that they behave. Dan's like, I'm 100% yellow. I know, Dan, that's why I love you. But if we focus again now in the green corner, the relationship-focused introverts. So already my tone, my pace, and my gesturing is actually a little bit slower. And if I take you back to the test, after 10 minutes, the green, the relationship-focused introvert, will notice that Anne has got a headache. Miss, my friend Anne's got a headache. I think I should take her to the nurse. So for the green, the relationship-focused introvert, actually the headache was more important than the test. Now, from my experience, I see a lot of people in the VA and the PA space who have displayed green behaviours because they really genuinely want to help. And that word genuine is the most important word in that sentence. But what that does, they actually put other people in front of themselves. They people please, they help other people, and sometimes at their detriment. So again, you know, I don't know the colours of the behaviours of the people in the room, but if you have a little look, I think, you know, really having a deeper knowledge helps you to understand how you can hit your goals, but why other people affect you hitting them, or how you can work with other people in different ways to get what you want. And then last but not least, in the top left corner, we have the blues. And those are the task-focused introverts. So for those, if the test lasts 30 minutes, right up to the last second, checking the work, double checking the work, did I cross my I, did I dot my T's? Everything has to be perfect. So there's a couple of things, you know, we never pigeonhole, we never label, but that knowledge really helps. We're also not just one colour, we're a blend of all of them, but usually we blend on an axis because it's the diagonals are the people we tend not to get on with. So again, if you're up here in the red corner, you want everything now. And the greens, they take their time and their pace is really slow. If you're here leading the Disney parade, it's the blue people that, you know, their conversation might not be at the same enthusiasm levels as you. And if you're here in green and you really genuinely care, it's those pushy reds that really push you away. And if you're up here in blue and you need all the detail, it's those annoying yellows that never shut up. So can you see from this? Tracy says, I am far more on the yellow sphere. I remember at school being in front of the head, so much for being the chatterbox. And again, all the skills that come are really important. But what you need to do, so for example, I don't know who said get a job or get a pay rise, but if you're down here in the relationship area, you're probably quite scared to ask for a pay rise. Because whereas if you're task focused, you'd be like, well, do you know what? I know my worth. I would really like a pay rise. And you would come in with some facts and figures. So you can see here how, oh, I don't know who that is. Oh, it's Kate. I know Kate says definitely blue. So Kate, looking at that, if you've got an exec or if you're working with a client that's in the yellow corner, that's where, again, talking about basketballs, tennis balls and ping pong balls will help you help them hit their deadlines. And green at work, but red at home. Again, it's really interesting because you've got a basic behaviour and an adaptive behaviour. But I think, again, I could talk about that subject all day. I absolutely adore it. So I think that covers, just to sort of recap on what we looked at. So we looked at why it's important to set goals. We looked at making them smart. We talked about vision boards. We talked about Alison Edgar's big balls around time management. We also looked at balancing your banks. We talked about the me thing, which is your internal things that help you to get what you want. And we talked about the we things, which is how you can work with other people to achieve your goals. So I said to Dan, if there is anybody that wants me to speak at one of the company events, I'd love to talk to you. Or if you wanted some one-to-one coaching around any of these topics, I'd love to do that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the slide pack down so I can see your beautiful faces, and then we'll do Q&A for the next few minutes. Perfect. Right. I see you all now.
Oh, thank you so much, Alison. I'm really grateful. Let me just switch. I'm going to just stop the recording just in case anyone's got any questions they want to say. But first of all, I just want to say a massive thank you to Alison because I really enjoyed that. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. So I'm just going to stop the recording now, just in case